Chapter 3. The Recovery Process. Peace flooded my heart as I drove away from the church office, rebuking Satan, leaving behind all his voices of accusation. As I drove, I realized I would have to study the scripture that says the love of money is the root of all evil. When I read it again, I still did not understand it any differently. It was just the same old verse stating that God does not have a problem with money as such, but that the root of all evil is the love of money. It wasn't until some years later that the full truth of that verse struck me, which I will share in this book. It's interesting how the subconscious mind makes you see what you believe. I'm amazed at how blind I was to what is actually written in that verse even after I renounced the lie on tithing. It was almost as if I could not read properly. I saw things that were not even written in the verse. I can't count how many times I read it before I came to the true understanding of it. I've come to the conclusion that the harm done to me in believing the lie about money could not be repaired by simply rebuking voices of accusation. My heart could also not be repaired by turning my back on tithing and the sowing and reaping system. I had to have my heart reprogrammed, or I would never understand scripture correctly and enjoy a normal life again. I suffered a great amount of pain by my wrong belief torturing me for many years. The only way life could be restored to me was if the truth could be restored to me. Unless the right belief of truth becomes common sense for us, we will be victims of the wrong kind of wisdom forever. I can think of a few words to describe my life when I lived by the wrong logic. It is darkness, blindness, and hell. I never perceived it as blindness or darkness until I saw the light. When I realized the lie that had found a pathway into my life through the tithing as well as the sowing and reaping teachings, there were several ways I could have responded. Rebellion against giving would not bring freedom for me. Hating church would only make matters worse. Anger towards those who introduced me to those teachings would just pull me deeper into the pit. The only answer was to hear a truth that is believable based on facts about Jesus Christ and what he has done for me. Only then could all pain be healed and my view of God and who I am be restored. It would also enable true forgiveness in time. This is not a quick fix after years of harm. Having knowledge of the truth does not change the subconscious mind the moment you hear it. God had to love me back to wholeness. I had to become accustomed to truth again. Since the divine ones function from a platform of love, resulting in trust, faith, and other beautiful attributes, I had to get into a place where I could experience their life. I had to see and experience the love of God to the point that trust was formed in me. I needed to be in that atmosphere of life possessed by the Trinity, until their life permeated my thoughts and belief to the manifestation of their life in me. Furthermore, this life had to be the result of the living breath of God in me, and not my effort. This relationship-based change is not a 5-minute process at all. It is a correction that will happen over time, effortlessly. The best way to illustrate the dynamics a wrong belief had on me is to liken it to a marriage. Imagine you are happily married for 5 years, until a respected friend informs you that your wife recently had an affair. To make it worse, he provides evidence that she was cheating on you the whole time you were married. Suddenly your life is in pieces. But, after some serious introspection, you conclude that the fault is actually with you. You read as many marriage and marital counseling books as possible, and earnestly consider ways to make her love you again, so that you can have the marriage you've always desired. In your desperation to restore the marriage, you become painfully aware of all your shortcomings, which then leads you to carefully formulate a set of principles and tasks you think will help to make the marriage work. Put out the trash daily. Wash the car twice a week. Buy her flowers once a week. Take the kids to school every day. Help with the dishes and laundry. Do not become angry with her when she is wrong. Take her on vacation at least once a year. Get the kids dressed in the mornings. Bring her coffee in the mornings. Listen attentively and show interest when she talks. All of a sudden, the wonderful relationship you experience dies. Love itself dies. The image you had of your wife and the way you used to look at her dies. Meanwhile, you become a slave of rules that you're convinced you must obey to keep the marriage working. Your definition of happiness even becomes distorted, and all this happens while you are being counseled by others. Through all this effort, your perception of a happy marriage changes to "my wife only loves me when I do things for her." Yet, you still smile and laugh, go on holidays, help out in the house, and take the kids to school. Your wife seems happy, but inside you have died a kind of death you cannot put into words. It feels as if the marriage has deteriorated from a passionate, loving, trusting relationship to a cognitive, willful, decision-based arrangement, rooted in fear of divorce. Imagine living like this for another 5 years, 7 years, or even 10 years. Then, one morning you receive a call from another friend who invites you for breakfast at his place. At the breakfast table, he shares some information that proves your wife never actually had an affair. The new evidence reveals that the stories of her supposed affair were entirely false and twisted. At once, you are confronted with the fact that you were deceived into believing a huge lie about your wife. Imagine returning home while contemplating this new information. The more you think about it, the more you realize you were deceived into believing she was unfaithful. Heartbroken, you acknowledge that you believed a terrible lie about your beautiful wife. Both joy and sorrow flood your heart. Although you are relieved to know the truth, remorse for the years deprived of trust brings you to tears. You were living in such an emotional hell, but it's finally over. When you apologize to her, she fully accepts it without holding a grudge. She had always prayed that you would see the truth one day. She never wanted to let go of the marriage because of a lie. Your newfound life together is like you've gotten married all over again. We can liken this story to what most people experience when they discover their freedom from wrong teachings about God. The hurt does not leave you the moment you discover that you were deceived. The law system has shaped its wrong belief into your heart to the point that it would be absolutely natural to experience everything the husband in this story experienced. Like him, your emotions and actions will naturally be born from the disappointment and hurt you suffer from being deceived. When you hear the words give, church, building, prosperity, missions and generosity, you may have feelings of fear and anger rise up in your heart. This is a normal response, yet it can be deadly if you remain at that place, since the life God will share with you is a life of generosity, kindness and faithfulness. You will be just as hurt and dysfunctional in your newly discovered freedom from law if the hurt of abuse continues. The same influence that brought pain and destruction to your life when you believed the lie will persist in being the father of your life. Anger over abuse never sets you free from it, it just aggravates it. The root of all the husband's pain and turmoil was the lie, not only during the time he believed it, but also afterwards. It was his belief in the lie that distorted his perception of marriage, and only a kind of reprogramming could restore his belief to the truth. How are we restored to the truth about God and our relationship with Him? Healing will come by having a normal atmosphere in which the heart and mind can be renewed over time, a season where you can experience the realities of a true and beautiful marriage relationship with God. It is of the utmost importance for people to realize that ongoing bitterness and hatred, because of the fear and uncertainty of never being good enough before God, will keep them in captivity to what was killing them. As we look at the following questions about the husband in our story, consider how the restoration process can work for you when you have believed a lie about God. Did the subconscious mind of the man change the second he understood that she was not guilty? How do you think he would feel about marital counseling courses after this? How would he relate to the friend who gave him the false information? Would he feel totally at ease if his wife neglected some things he expected from her? Would he have a moment of fear if she were to leave on a 2-week business trip? How would his daily life change in regard to putting out trash, washing the car, buying flowers, taking the kids to school, assisting with household tasks, going on vacations, helping the kids get dressed, bringing her coffee in the mornings and attentively listening? How would the abuse we suffered affect our view on money and the church, and what is the recovery process to have a life that is not hurt-based? In most cases, the marriage would not be back to normal for at least a few years. For a start, he would experience aversion towards all marital courses because he would associate them with pain and lies. He might have begun to hate holidays or taking his kids to school, for his subconscious mind connects all the good he has done to lies and abuse. In fact, his whole life could be greatly influenced by the abuse of the wrong belief he suffered, so his mind will need to be renewed towards trust in a truly satisfying marriage, where lies and the connected abuse do not exist. He would have to come to a point where his reality would not be tainted by the aftershock of abuse, enabling him to enjoy the fullness he experienced before. It might even be that he would continue to do all the good deeds he has done in the house, only because of fear of being a bad husband, and not out of love for his wife. And if the man's innermost being could not be freed from consequences of the abuse he went through in believing the lie, it could even lead to divorce, the very thing he always hoped to avoid. When we look at what the husband went through in believing the lie, it cannot be seen as anything but being abused by the lie he believed. Every effort he made out of believing the lie was forcing him to live a life for which he was never designed. This is abnormal use or abuse of a person. In the very same way, all who have believed a lie about money have experienced the abuse of the system. Every effort to get God to manifest His blessing was actually abuse. It's abnormal to live like that, when we have a loving, relational God who has given us everything for free. Let's apply these thoughts to money. Does the subconscious mind of men change the second he understands that he was misled about finances? How would you feel about teachings about money since you have realized that you have been deceived? How would we relate to the people that gave us the wrong teaching? Could our way of treating them be ungracious? When we are in a setting where the truth about money is taught, could it be that we will have anger rise up in our hearts on account of the hurt we have experienced? How would our view on money and the church change due to the abuse we went through, and what is the process for recovery of a life that is not hurt-based? In summary, a wrong belief about God causes absolute devastation. Experiencing the full effects of healing might take some time, since God does everything through relationship. Until you can see God in the light of family-orientated relationship, it will be impossible to have your heart healed. To live in bitterness towards the old system that used and abused you can never be the way to a new life of true freedom. Never be the way to a new life of true freedom.